Straight on the Point with your host from some undisclosed location. Here's Jesse T.
Well, it's good to be back with you here, my friends, on the Jesse T Show. Hopefully we're booming out to you nice and clear here on the air and everywhere from the community to the world. This is Jesse Torrero. The Brown Beauty is back on duty. Yes, we're broadcasting from an undisclosed location in the beautiful city of Burbank, California. Good to have you along, Instagram and also Periscope. Checking in with me, Jesse T, and Facebook.com/Jesse Torrero, as well as our friends on the powerofvoices.com and the Global Radio Network, because we are all around the world broadcasting to you, my friends, who's passing us on little by little every day, and we appreciate that very much. You can also check us out on about 21 different social network sites as we post up on Tumblr and Twitter and Diggy and Pinterest, and we post up on Blogger. Also, we're out there on Periscope, Instagram right there, and 3 Facebook sites, The Power of Voices, Jesse Torrero, and Straight on the Point. And we can't forget about the good old great radio broadcast right here on www.thepowerofvoices.com, where you can check us out every day of the week from 5 to 6. Good to have you along with me. Tomorrow, just a programming note, we have a show called Roundup Wound Up, and I'm going to give the issues out in a rapid-fire kind of pace, and my guests will be relating and talking about and giving their ideas and opinions about those issues. And we might argue it, we might agree. Whatever we're going to do, it's going to be a lot of fun, fast and furious, and the pace is really fun. We want you to chime in on that because we're going to be doing a lot of good topics, a lot of great things in the news, in the fake news, in the real news, in the silly news. There's lots of stuff happening right here all around God's blue-green earth. It's just going crazy. Hey, saying hi to John T. Ferragamo. I wonder if they're any relationship to Vince Ferragamo, the great quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams. Saying hi to John as he checks in with us on Instagram Live, and chime in on with us on Facebook, and we'll say hi to you as we proceed right here on the Jesse T Show. Also, on Friday, we've got a special guest trying to track her down as we speak. I can't tell you who it is, but I will tell you it's going to be somebody extra special, talking about the movie business. If I can get her free from her set, she's in Hollywood at Warner Brothers Studios shooting right now. She's on about a 6-week shoot. She'll be there for about 3 weeks, and she is somebody that I know you'll love. And we're going to hopefully have her in studio or Skyping from her trailer there on the Warner Brothers lot in Burbank here on Thursday afternoon. That will be not Friday, Thursday. Of course, we got road tripping on Friday. Dan the Man, the Road Dog King, now wants to change his name to I Get No Respect at All, Dan the Man. And he's going to be checking in with us on Roundup Wound Up as one of our guests. And of course, David Shark Fralix checking in. And we got another guest who'll be showing up as well. Well, we're going to be road tripping on Friday. We've got a place that we're going to be headed out to, Dan the Man and I. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So a couple of things going on right now. I don't know if you heard about what Donald Trump just recently said about the North Koreans. I call them the North Koreans because they just want to kill everybody, it seems like. Not only kill their own population, but they want to just light the earth up with a fireworks show on top of an ICBM missile. They say they put a small little nuclear warhead on top of that missile. Now, I don't know if I want to believe that, and I'll tell you why. There's a reason why I don't know if I want to believe that, because I just don't believe anything that the United States government says to us. At least I take it with a big grain of salt. I just have come to this point in my life that it seems to me that so many tall tales are told by both parties and by everybody behind the Beltway, and the fake news, the news that used to be the news, It's no better than Rowan and Martin's Laughing. If you remember that show, go back to Google or YouTube and Google up or YouTube up Rowan and Martin's Laughing. And they did a thing called The News You Can Use. And it was a very funny kind of splash of the news of the day. Well, it's sort of what happens every single day, 24 hours a day now with our news reporting. It's more commentary and editorial, and also more personal in terms of people's opinions. It's just not really news anymore. It seems like everybody wants to sensationalize everything and become the superstar for the moment. But nevertheless, I just don't believe a lot of what goes on anymore. Maybe it's because I've gotten more cynical in my age or more pessimistic as I grow older. But I just don't believe. I just don't believe anymore in the United States government that they tell us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God, with your right hand on the Bible and your left hand on the Constitution. I just don't believe that our politicians are honest and fair. I don't believe that the government and the corporations and the military really tell us anything of any importance. I just don't believe that our churches and our priests and our pastors and our mayors and our governors and our House of Representatives and senators and state assembly people are always truthful. I just don't believe, because we've caught them in so many lies in my lifetime, so many lies that they're just hypocrites at the very best. You and I would be in jail. You and I would be indicted. You and I would be in front of a grand jury. You and I would be would have perjured ourselves. It's just, I really believe that, unfortunately, what's been taking place in my lifetime is a coup de grace on truth, where truth doesn't matter anymore. What matters is if you win. That's all that matters. I think that's really a bad and sad way of looking at things, but it seems to me that our celebrities, our VIPs, our athletes, it seems to me even just groups that are homegrown and spun right out of the roots and the dirt of God bless America, the beautiful, greatest country in the world. It just seems that everybody's got a slant that benefits them over everyone else. The concept of the good of the many outweigh the good of the one has been deleted and replaced with the concept of me, myself, and I. That's all that matters. And I haven't broken the law, lied or cheated, dishonored or falsified anything until I'm caught and it's proven. And that sure sort of is a sad way to look at things. Well, I tell you, folks, we better shape up as this country's shipping out. And I really don't care who the president is. I really don't care who your favorite senator or congressman or your favorite preacher, like Joel Osteen, Mr. Smiley Face, and his Smiley Face fake wife. I mean, they ripped off and took their big, huge congregation for $40 million. You know, I'll tell you, that is actually the best place to make money is in the con game of religion, especially evangelical religion. They get these mega churches and they just rip and roar and roar. There was a church down here in the San Fernando Valley called, I'll come to the name in a second. It's on Roscoe Boulevard. And it's a church, it's sort of a mega church. They can put about 6,000 in their little indoor arena. And when you go in there, you get the plate passed to you like 6 times it goes around. And if you don't put something in there, the peer pressure is pretty great. It's kind of crazy when you think about that. You got to pay for your God. You got to pay for your religion. You have to pay for your spirituality for some ding-dong doofus to be up there telling you how to live your life and what the Bible says and what God says. Are you really, really so stupid that you would believe somebody like that? Well, a whole lot of people do, both in Christianity and in Islamic faith and Buddhist and Taoism and the Hindus. It seems that people just fall all over, gushing head over heel for their religious leaders, who in the final end of it all, like so many of them have, like Jimmy Swaggart, and like so many of them have, like the Bakers, who spent time in jail, and now Joel Osteen, just hypocrites beyond the word hypocrite. Why is it that our world and our country, and you and I, why is it that we live in a society like this today? Have you ever given that much thought? Why can you not trust anybody without verification? Why do we have to trust and verify, verify and trust and verify and trust? What has happened to good old-fashioned ethics and morality that we all obeyed and understood, no matter what our race, our creed, our color, our religious background, no matter what our gender was or what we thought our gender should be or shouldn't be, no matter what we worked, what side of the tracks we lived on, no matter how wealthy or how poor we were, how smart or how uneducated we were, we all had some basic concepts, ethics, and morals that were just kind of taught to us by our society, our parents, our schools, our churches, everything in the way in which we live. What happened? What happened to that? What happened to telling the American public the truth? Well, I ponder this and really ask the question, has the American public ever been told the truth? Have we ever been told the truth, really? Did our forefathers tell us the truth? Did George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and John Hancock and Benjamin Franklin ever tell us the truth? Did they really live truthful and honest and forthright lives? Benjamin Franklin used to live in France. He loved to party with the little girls and boys. Oh, that's something you'll never see in the history books, but that's why he lived most of his life in France. He was the ambassador to France. Thomas Jefferson spent more time having intercourse with his slaves, the young women, than he did with his old lady. I mean, really? That's why we have so many people that say they're from the Jefferson clan. George Washington wasn't much different, and neither were any of them. And really, have we ever been told the truth? Have we ever been told that if we go into war, this is going to happen? Have we ever been told that why we are going to war? Why we really are there? Did we really go to the Iraqi war with the idea that we were defending ourselves against terrorism? Or was that just a big falsified false flag incident? Really? I mean, did it have to do with oil or the banking industry? Did you know that going into the Iraqi war, there were 9 countries in the world that did not participate in the IMF and the International Monetary Currency Fund? In other words, they did not participate in the exchange of dollar bills for goods and services from country to country. They were actually creating their own commerce. The Libyan gold that Gaddafi was giving to all his citizens, Saddam Hussein, and I believe it was called, it started with a D. He pressed up his own dollar bills and money. And also, all the other nations, the 9 nations were doing that. Egypt, Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Somalia, North Korea. They don't have a national reserve bank. Their bank is owned by the dictator. So was it about money? Was it about oil? Was it about gold? Why did we really go to war? Why did we really destroy those buildings in New York? And if you think 2 giant jets smashed those buildings and collapsed them, I really feel sorry for you. Because really, come on. You have no idea how you've been twisted to think in a certain way. Those buildings were detonated from inside. I'm not saying 2 jets didn't hit them. There's even science out there that says that jets weren't even there. That was all post-up in post-production. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there's no way those buildings could have collapsed with 2 jets hitting them. I'm sorry. The fuel wouldn't have done it. They were built too sturdy. They were built for jets crashing into them in the 1970s. Just like the Empire State Building was built for B-17s and propelled bombers to crash into them. Because one actually did. A B-24 bomber hit the Empire State Building about midway, crashed and burned, just like those jets did. That building didn't come down. So did we really believe that we got into the Vietnam War? Have you ever heard about the false flag incident, the Bay of Tonkin? Have you ever heard about that? Did we really get into World War I for the reasons we got into World War I? I mean, we didn't join World War I until 1917. The war was basically over. And when we joined, everybody basically just gave up because they couldn't out-manufacture America. We were fresh on the scene with fresh airplanes and fresh bullets and fresh men and fresh food and just fresh everything. And we could replace faster than anybody. But were we really there in 1917 for the reasons they said? Really? Did you ever hear about J.P. Morgan and how he manipulated the marketplace and manipulated the banking industry on the East Coast, which basically where all the banks were, and how he created the Federal Reserve and how he bought Woodrow Wilson, the President Wilson, bought him off and he became a puppet for J.P. Morgan, and how they created the United States Tax Act of 1913. And all of that was created, all of that was done for what? To tax the people and get their money, and then to get the money that they made back in their hands. Now, did you ever think about what World War I was about? World War I was actually the destruction of what were the remnants left of the monarch system, the aristocrats of Europe. They had to get rid of these dictatorships and these kings and potentates. They had to put them into government because government can be corrupted. Government could be manipulated. Bureaucrats. That's what they did. And they created a reserve system. Did you ever think that maybe that's the reasons why we got into World War I? What about World War II? Why did we really get into World War II? Did you know that that President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, he himself was up for election, and he was very concerned about the fact that his alphabet soup philosophy, all those new agencies that he created, he actually was the one that created big democratic government. Did you know that all those programs, that they weren't working? None of them were working, getting America out of the Depression. Putting men back to work was not working. None of that was having an effect. And he was probably going to lose the election, which was after his first term. He had no chance. In fact, a lot of people weren't very happy with him. And he was itching to find a way to get into that war. But he really couldn't, because first-generation Germans and Italians were living in the East Coast by the millions. First generation, Italians and Germans. And they were our enemies during World War II. Yeah. So what did he do? What did he do? He embargoed Japan. He put the clamp down on that little island over there that was still basically living in grass huts and wood buildings. Literally. That's what he did. You see, they used China, Mongolia, Manchuria, it was known as. They used that for their natural resources. When China beat Japan beat China in war in the 1920s and 1930s and took over and did atrocities against the Chinese and created opium along with the English, who created the opium trade in China, because they knew if they addicted a whole population, they could make a lot of money. And that they did with all the major offices in Hong Kong. The opium trade. a creation by the English and the Japanese. And the English, we know, have always been bankrolled by the Rothschilds. It's really that simple. Fat Pencilier just joined us on Instagram Live. Thanks a lot, brother. So we're or are we, or have we ever really been told the truth about anything? Have we, or were we told the truth about the Civil War? Were we told the truth about Abraham Lincoln and why he was shot and why no guard was there? Just one little guard went to the bathroom downstairs in the basement of the Ford Theater. I've been there. Come on now. Really, are we led to believe that John Wilkes Booth is the only one that set it all up and he did it? Really? Are you kidding me? Oh, boy. Yeah. And have we ever been really told the truth about the Democratic Party and the Republican Party and how it was the Republicans that stopped slavery in the South and the Democrats were actually the KKK members? And somewhere in the turn of the 20th century, around 1907, 1905, 1910, is when all of a sudden a lot of Americans of black African descent decided they didn't want to be Republicans anymore. Do you know the reason why? Do you really know where the word Niggor comes from? Niggur? That is a word that was created way back with the Spanish, Portuguese, and the French. The word, the N-word. That was a word that was created back in the 16th century by the Spaniards and the Portuguese and the French. Did you know that? Did you know that that word was not considered a bad word up until the 1960s? Did you know that? Did you know that that word actually connotated good feelings in many cases? And it was also used for Mexicans, Native Americans or Indians, white people, black people of African descent. They use that word interchangeably for each other all the time. Did you know that? Really? Did people really know why the Spanish-American War actually happened? Do you know really why we went after Pancho Villa? Do people really understand why we needed Texas and our border to be on the Rio Grande? Does anybody know anything anymore? I mean, or do we just sit there getting fat and sassy and we look at the TV set and we eat our popcorn and drink our beer? Did you know that one beer is like a whole loaf of bread? Yeah. And the big cigarette manufacturers are itching to get in with the recreational state cannabis business. They so much want to package cannabis cigarettes, not because they want to make money, because they want to toxify it and put an addictive carcinogen and toxin in that cannabis, like they did with tobacco. Tobacco is not addictive. And tobacco really isn't bad for you. In fact, the tobacco plant that came from this hemisphere is actually has medicinal purposes to it. But when they added nicotine and all the other carcinogens to addict populations so they would continue to spend their money, that's the true story. Why don't we ever know the truth about anything anymore? Why is it that every lie, every cheat, and every story is a story to persuade you to think a certain way? Have you ever thought that maybe, just maybe, that governor is not telling me the truth? Have you ever thought that maybe our governor in the state of California, El Stupido Brown, hasn't told the truth for his whole life in the political arena? What about Proposition 47 and 57? What about AB 104? What about this gas tax that he imposed upon us? What about that money for the high-speed rail? What about sanctuary cities and sanctuary states? Are we really being told the truth? Are we ever told the truth? I postulate, and I put it to you, the answer to that is we have never been told the truth. Is the Bible truth? Or was the Bible a hand-me-down from the Sumerian tablets or from Buddha? Is the Bible really the Word of God? Boy, I'll tell you, 5,000 years earlier, you look at the Sumerian tablets, and it has the same stories. Yeah, it's interesting. And those stories are all around all the ancient societies of antiquity. All around in all the hemispheres. They all seem to be the same. Why aren't we told the truth about anything? Why is it that Americans are lied to? And why is it that we accept those lies now? I put forward to you that because we don't know the difference anymore between truth and lie. I propose to you that they package it up so beautifully, and with the technology today, they can manipulate anybody, anywhere, any way, anytime to think exactly what they want them to think. I propose to you that from birth, almost 3 generations now of Americans, for over almost 100 years, have been brainwashed from birth. Not even brainwashed, but taught. If you don't know what wrong is, how do you know what right is? If you don't know what right is, how do you know what wrong is? Could wrong be right and could right be wrong? It's how you're taught from the time you come out of the womb. It's how you're taught. Not only by your parents, not only by your family structure, which we've had the breakup of the American family over the last 70 years, where divorce rates are high, and it's free love and free sex, and free this and free that, and it's all right to abort at the trimester when the child is alive and cut them up inside the womb and yank them out by piece. That's okay. That's right. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Yes, and also, there's nothing wrong with people running around, wanting to be men, wanting to be girls, don't know what they want, don't know who they are, don't know what they are, don't know where they're going. I propose to you, it really is a function of indoctrination. Indoctrination from birth. That's what I propose. You want to be gay? You want to be lesbian? You want to be bisexual? You want to be a queer? You want to be a transgender or a trans or anything that we talk about today? Good. Do it. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong at all. What is wrong with it is how it is being shoved down everybody's throat. How it's being shoved down and everything else is being forgotten. And everything else is bad. Nothing is good. If you don't agree with that lifestyle, you're a racist, you're a bigot, you're prejudicial, you're discriminating. If you don't agree with something, immediately it's your color, it's your homophobic idea, it's this. And in reality, it really shouldn't be and isn't for many. It's just a question. It's a question and an opinion. Why is it that we can't have an exchange of opinions anymore without getting angry, without fighting? Why does Maxine Waters call Dershowitz a racist? Because he talks out against Maxine Waters and how black Americans are causing a lot of their own problems? The left-wing liberals of the agenda of NAACP and the black movement Dershowitz talked about recently, he's not allowed to talk about that. And Maxine Waters calls him a racist because she's black and he's not. Why is it that black people can talk about white people, but white people can't talk about black people? Why is it that Asians can talk about Mexicans and Mexicans can't talk about Asians? Why is it that we can't have an open exchange of ideas and opinions without these crying racism, crying bigotry, crying prejudice, crying discriminatory acts, crying homophobia, crying any of these things? Why? Because we have been taught to act and believe and move a certain way. We have been taught to fear things that we really shouldn't fear. We have been taught that there are taboos we can't talk about. And why is that? And here's why, in my opinion, my humble opinion. Here's why. It's called manipulation and control. If you can control a population by force, you do. If you can control a population by destruction, you do. If you can control a population by religious order, you do. If you can control a population by economics, you do. If you can control a population by food, you do. If you can control a population by water, you do. If you can control a population by health, you do. If you can control a population by guilt, you do. By fear, you do. By anxiousness, you do. By embarrassment, you do. By anger, you do. By any way you can, you control the population. And the reason why? Because if you don't, you would have another French Revolution on your hands. The aristocracy, the elites, the small government would have their heads taken off, and the people would rebel, just like they did against the monarchs and the aristocrats in France in the French Revolution. Off with their heads they did at the guillotine. You see, they, who are they, I'll tell you in a minute, don't want that to happen. They want to keep supreme power. They want to keep supreme fear. They want to keep supreme chaos and complete anarchy. They want you to act, think, believe, dress, speak, educate, and pray a certain way. And if you don't, watch out. If you're somebody of significance, watch out. Because no matter who you think you are, you can't beat them. Not today. There's never going to be a revolution. We are going to continue down this path. Because as Bush once said in the 1990s, and he created Agenda 21 and Rex 84, as Bush said, it is the new world order. There is no creation of it anymore. We are living it. And with AI intelligence taking all of our money away and putting it on plastic cards, soon to be chipped in your neck or your hand or your buttocks, they are going to control your destiny. And that's coming. Believe me, that's coming. America doesn't matter anymore other than the military might in that respect. And it is the most beautiful and wonderful place to live. Saying hi to Kelly J34, KJL34. Thanks all for having us on Instagram. Hey, it doesn't matter like it did before. The world is a small place now. And now the world is what is acting to be conquered. It's not just Europe. It's not just Russia. It's not just Asia. It's not just the North American hemisphere. It's not just America. The empire is the empire of Earth. That is what's up for grabs. And who are they? Really simple. They are these people. The corporate aristocrats and mega corporations that buy government and government officials all around the planet Earth. They buy them. They control them. And who controls the corporations? The banking and insurance industries. They control them. They control all of their money. They control everything. The banking industry controls corporate dollars, controls the stock market, controls every aspect of this global economy. And who controls the banking industry? The Federal Reserve System. The Federal Reserve System of America controls not only the Federal Reserve in America, but through the IMF that controls the IMF, controls every single Federal Reserve System in every single country now, with the exception of 2 countries, and that is North Korea and Iran. And who controls the IMF, the world's largest bank? Who controls them? Well, let's start naming some names. The Queen of England. Let's start naming some names. The Queen of the Netherlands. Let's start pointing some fingers. The Catholic Church. Let's start pointing some fingers. The Rockefellers. Let's start pointing some fingers. The Rothschilds. And who controls this group? There's really only one on the planet Earth. They control Gates. They control Buffett, who are paupers. They control Munger, who's a pauper. Soros, who's a pauper, meaning doesn't even scratch the surface of their wealth and power. The Rothschild financial dynasty that has been with us since the early 18th century in the 1720s. They control everything. Every war, good or bad, they control. Every government, good or bad, they control. Every religion, good or bad, they control. That simple. Which means they have the power of life and death over you and me. That is exactly what's going on in North Korea. Not for 1 second do I believe that the North Koreans have the capability of putting a nuclear warhead on an ICBM missile to hit Hawaii, Alaska, the Philippines, California, or anything beyond their oceans. Not for 1 second do I believe that that little fat rat bastard has any importance in this world other than what has been given to him. Why has China not done anything? Why has America not done anything? For what, 5 presidents? Or all the presidents since the end of Korea? Why? Tell me why. It's an interesting question, isn't it, to pose that? Very interesting. Because I believe the answers are very simple. There's an old concept in advertising and marketing. When you want to get a message or want to commit somebody to something that they're, 1, either learning about for the first time, or 2, making a change in their commitment or decision from one thing to another, it's called KISS, the KISS theory. Keep it simple, silly, or keep it simple, stupid. Your message must be simple. And the simpler it is, the harder it is to believe. But unconsciously, it's easier to move people. Keep it simple, silly. It's very simple. Why? Because nobody has made the decision to take him out, or to take his father out, or to take his grandfather out before him. The decision was made to use it. The reason is really irrelevant. What's important is the fact it is. This is just another false flag incident where people are going to die. And unfortunately, it's going to be a lot of Americans, possibly, certainly a lot of South Koreans, and a lot of North Koreans. And they're going to die for what? Nothing. Nothing. They're going to die for political reasons. They're going to die for geopolitics. They're going to die for reasons that really aren't there in truth. We could take this guy out anytime we want, but we don't. That in itself is a perplexing question. We don't. Why? Because South Korea will see a lot of damage? If we attacked with 500 drops of bombs in planes in 1 hour to 2 hours, they would not even get a shot off into South Korea. Nor would they get a shot off of those missiles. If we attacked with that kind of resolve, it would be over for them. Over. But we don't. It would have been like General George Custer when he came upon Little Bighorn and the 6,000 Native Americans who were there from multiple Sioux tribes, because it was their place where they always went, year after year, for a big powwow of all the Sioux nations. And Custer comes over with a couple hundred troops and gets himself slaughtered because of his ego. But what if Custer had an A-10 Warthog flying above? What if Custer had AR-15s with 90 rounds and protected armor on all his cavalrymen? What if Custer had drone bombs and artillery and missiles flying through the air? What do you think would have happened? Custer wouldn't have had his last stand. That's what that guy is to us. We have been bushwhacked to think a certain way about him. And he is a little nut case, little greedy, crybaby, spoiled brat, no doubt. But he's not all that he says. And if by chance he does have nuclear weapons, then we allowed him to get them. And the presidents, Obama, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Reagan, Ford, Nixon, Carter, Lyndon B. Johnson, John F. Kennedy, all contributed to that problem. And every senator and every governor. It is not President Trump's fault. Every congressman and every assemblyman and every senator have contributed to that problem. If he does have nuclear bombs on ICBM missiles and he can hit Burbank, California, shame on us if that happens. Because that was a choice that somebody said, we're just going to let it go like this. Create a false flag incident. And that false flag incident is going to do one thing when all the smoke clears. South Korea and North Korea are going to unite under one Korean country, just like East Berlin and West Berlin did. And Americans are going to have bases in North Korea and South Korea, and ports even more. And there's a reason for that, and it's not the Chinese. We own the Chinese. Hear me straight. We own the Chinese. They love American money, and they love American commerce. And by the way, their whole system was bankrolled by the IMF in 1973. So, we want that to happen because we want to post very close looking at those commie Ruskies, those commie Russians, those red devil commie bastards, communist Russia. They are our mortal enemy. They are the world's enemy. They always have been. If you study their country historically, back to the czars, they've always been a problem. The thing is, they're broke. Putin's the only one that's got any money. Everybody else is broke. They can't put a flotilla out there. They got nuclear bombs, and they're broke. The closer we get to North Korea uniting with South Korea, the more stability that part of the world is going to have. And it's all about business and control and power. It's that simple. The big issue is China and India war. Did you know about that? Yeah, the China-India war, which is about ready to blow up. See, you have to look past what you've been told. You have to look past the Republican agenda. You have to look past the Democrat agenda. You have to look past the religious agenda. You have to look past the racial agenda. You have to look past all the agendas that are propagated and shot right at you, the target at the back of your head. When you can begin to do that, you can begin to understand one simple thing. Human beings aren't the problem. The citizens of countries aren't the problem. Governments are the problem. Religious orders are the problem. Corporations are the problem. Bankers, banking, insurance companies are the problem. The few that are in government, that are professional politicians, are the problem. The citizens of these countries are not the problem. Human beings just want to get along. They just want to have a little bit of fun. That's all they want. They just want a little bit of fun, a little bit of love, a little bit of extra food, a little bit of shelter, and a little bit of an easy life, and a little bit of safety, and a little bit of friends. Human beings and humanity is really quite simple. But we let everybody else and everything else complicate it up because we don't know any different. You don't know any different. So once again, if you don't know what right is, how can you know what wrong is? And if you have no idea what wrong is, how can you know what right is? If you don't know wrong from right, then right could be wrong and wrong could be right. In chaos and anarchy, there's great control. There's great organization in chaos and anarchy. Saying hi to Mary Tesh, who just joined us. Thanks a lot, Mary. It's really a simple equation. I hope this North Korean nutcase doesn't have a nuclear warhead. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope my false flag incident is an incident that won't have a nuclear bomb at the tip of some missile. I just think it's set up, and I think that if they do, we gave it to them by our actions, directly or indirectly. And if one American, one ship, is sunk at the hand of an offensive attack first by that little fat twiddly-dee, twiddly-dum over there in North Korea, then I hold responsible every single politician, House of Representative, Senator, and President, even Donald Trump. And I voted for him. Responsible. The Jesse G Show. Hey, the world thing. Here, still with you, 5 to 6, Monday through Friday. And tomorrow, Roundup, Wound Up. We'll talk to you later. The Brown Beauty's off duty. See ya!